Hey, it's Terrie Carr, and thanks for checking out my web series. I bring in the artists and we chat. New artists, classics, and everyone in between. In this episode, I hang with the inspiring son of Southtown, Sonny Sandoval from P.O.D, to talk about his incredible autobiography, faith, family, and almost 30 years of his amazing band. Let's go. So I am with the son of Southtown. I am with Sonny Sandoval. I'm so happy to see your face because the last time I saw you, it was such a beautiful experience where we were just all hanging out. Here's what I called the parking lot party with you guys. And I call that with all of our artists we had in because we had a beautiful experience last summer. It was just days to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Days
It
where
was
you
nice.
just enjoy life with
Yeah.
like-minded people. You're meeting new people. Before we start talking about this incredible book, Son
Mm.
of Southtown, you are the son of Southtown. I love the hoodie, by the way. I got to get me one of those hoodies. There's just something very magical about you and the energy that
Mm.
you put out to people. There was a gentleman that came and he was battling a really serious health crisis and he was a massive fan of yours. He didn't tell you that when he met you because he said,
Mm.
I didn't want it to be about that. I want to talk to him about music and me being a fan and everything. But he left and he said to me, and I get goosebumps when I think about it. He goes, I feel like my conversation with Sonny did some healing of me. Like I feel like I was
Mm.
healed a little bit. And I thought, that's kind of the magic of who you
Aw.
are. So when I picked up the book and started reading about your childhood, and the book, of course, is Son of Southtown, My Life Between Two Worlds. What a perfect title. Because I think we can all relate to that, no matter
Yeah.
what your two worlds are. Because you got the part of you that you know is so good. We all have that good
Mm.
part of me. But then,
Yeah.
there are the days you get the tap, tap, tapping on your shoulder
That's
from
right.
the other world. And you kind of explain how these two worlds came together and made you better. So when you went back to start writing this book, where did you get the idea that you would like to put some of your life down in a book?
I mean, people have always kind of asked me, "Hey, you ever gonna do this?" All my friends and peers, Head from Corn, Lacey from Flyleaf, and everybody, all my rock star friends,
All
they're
your
all putting
peeps.
out,
Yeah.
yeah, all my people, they're putting out books and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be cool." And then it's just an extension of me, I mean, even outside of POD. I mean, most of the book is about my journey with POD, but you know, I, my story is more about my faith and trying to navigate through this life. You know what I mean? And so this is just a way for me to do that. And but at the end of the day, I mean, if I'm just being straightforward, it's like I just want to give glory to God because God has saved me in my life. He's the one. He's the constant in my life that keeps me loving instead of hating. You know what I mean? He's the one that keeps me honest instead of taking advantage of something. And so I just want people to always know that. I don't want to be known as P.O., the lead singer for the rock band, or he's a rock star, or he's this or he's that. That means that is so bottom of my list. I when I die, I want to be known as a man of faith. I want to be known as a good husband, as a good father, as a good friend. Those are the things that are important to me. Even though rock star and all that stuff is super cool, I can't complain, But that's not what defines me. And so I want my actions to speak louder than anything.
Yeah, yeah. The authenticity that you have. There's an interesting part in the book that really connected with me with you as a child. You're so honest about your child. This like childhood, tremendous melting pot and all the
Mm,
different things that went on with your families, people in and out and, step grandfather and this person and that
yeah.
person and everybody who had just a little bit of a chunk of a piece of your life. But what I felt reading this when you were a kid, you always seem to have, and maybe I just perceived it this way, the ability, even as a young child, to understand the flaws of others and
Mm,
accept them. We don't always
yeah.
have that as a child. Sometimes you're a kid, you get pissed off. This person did this to me. No, I
Right.
want to do this. I hate you. I hate you. You
Yeah.
seem to look back at this and said, but I gave this person this kind of a pass because I understood that they came from here or this was the way that it was,
That's
you
awesome.
know, and I don't know where that comes from in a child. Where did that come
Yeah.
from in your childhood?
I don't know. That's why I can't take credit, but that's so awesome that you pointed that out. I think that's just me, I think I've always been on a journey and searching, and maybe just my surroundings, my environment. Yeah, everybody's flawed, and it's natural to say, "Oh, woe is me. I'm a victim. I'm all these things." But I believe that God is good, in the highlights, in the great times of our life, and also the most tragic parts of our life. He has to. He's the same. He's the constant. So the more that I get to know God and just in my surroundings, people are flawed. We're all messed up. And so sometimes I don't, that's why I don't want to be judgmental in that sense, because I believe everybody is worth it and they have they deserve a second chance. I do believe that there's evil in this world, and sometimes it's like you got to call it what it is, and maybe that's what it is. But I believe everybody's trying, and sometimes we're just victims, not victims, we're just products of our own circumstances and in our situations. But we have to rise from that.
And you've navigated the faith and spirituality and rock and roll thing, really well. And that line is a very, very strange line because
Yeah.
you're too spiritual for some, you're not spiritual enough for the hardcore people. And I like to kind of take religion, I like to talk about it more about spirituality because I think that everybody can relate to that. Your
Yeah.
faithfulness, you have this faithfulness in God and you're such a faithful kind of guy. But, you guys were always, talking, people were talking about you like, oh yeah, definitely in that first, wave of new metal. I saw you guys as a different box on that computer screen, really, not just the new metal revolution,
Yeah.
but you guys were the first, I think, of that looking at, the new metal, some of it was very dark, and you guys were the light of that, bringing that
Hmm.
spirituality in. And you, to me, were the first. And you
That's
talk about the
awesome.
early days of that journey for you. Where do you think POD would be without, say, like a Howard Benson? Do you think your life would have taken such a different trajectory? Howard, of course, now is the guy. I mean, he's the
Yeah.
man. He's with everybody. I can't
Yeah.
think of
Yeah.
anybody Howard Benson has not worked with as a producer
That's
or whatever.
right.
Um, 3 Days Grace and Hailstorm and you name it.
Hmm.
He's on these records.
Everybody.
But you
Yeah.
guys were like the first. I think you gave him his first gold record. Kind of,
Yeah.
where would you be without him, and where would he be without you?
I mean, we learned so much from Howard. We had done everything independently for so long, and when we did sign a major label, Howard, he heard our demos and he said, "I like these guys. I could work with them." And he was our first producer. So he taught us so much. I mean, when we came to him, we had 8-minute songs and we had, five, six, seven different guitar riffs going on.
Right.
He taught us the structure of a song that we still use to this day. And then Pro Tools was so new at the time, and he taught us so much, and he continues to teach us, when we're with him, and he's awesome. But he also recognizes and gives it up to us, where we are his first gold and platinum record, and
Yep.
because of the excellent work that he did with us and Chris Lord Alge, so many more bands came to him and said, "I want to work with you guys because I want my record to sound like P.O.D. Satellite,"
I
and
want
so
fresh. I want fresh.
yes, I
Everyone wants
want fresh
fresh.
and clean and new.
Yes.
Exactly. So when you go to his studio, now he's got a huge hallway full of platinum records from every artist under the sun, and he got P.O.D.'s gold record right in the middle. And
Beautiful.
then when he showed that to us, he said, "You know why that you guys is in the middle?" And he said, "Because you guys my first." And he said, "And you guys made me rich."
I love that. I love that. That chapter for me was so great because I got
Yeah.
back into it. And I think it's just inspiring for people to know, the music business works very differently now, but there's always in somebody's wheelhouse a Howard Benson who
Yeah.
has that influence and who also has that ear and who has the belief and who has so I'm so happy that he met you guys and that you guys met him because I think the paths of life could have definitely worked out a little bit differently had there not been a Howard
Yeah.
Benson at the beginning for you guys and you for him.
Oh yeah, it was meant to be for sure. We were actually shooting a documentary on POD, and so he was one of the main guys that we
Oh,
had
love it.
interviewed, and so he's giving his perspective, because here you have this Jewish guy from Philadelphia, and then we come in these ghetto thugs that believe in Jesus. And he's like, "How
It's
does this
such a,
work? And what's going on?" And
yeah,
it
yeah.
but it was a beautiful, beautiful relationship to this day.
I love it. I love it. Now, how long
Yeah.
did it take you to craft the book? Like, say, when you were doing our parking lot party, was it done? Were you still writing it?
It was done
It
the
was
last time I
done
saw
last summer.
you. It
Okay.
it was just we were just finalizing everything. So the last, 10 months, 11 months, we've been just doing all the stuff that you do after. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. This is all new for me. I just started jotting down some stuff and getting my thoughts out there. And I knew that if we can get a few chapters in, we can shop it around and see who would take it on.
Were you on
And
like this juggernaut when you started it where you couldn't stop? Or, did some of these, there are a lot of painful memories and things to go through again, losing your mom and all of these painful periods of your life. What was it like? It's so hard to revisit those things and especially to revisit them and then come from a place of having to put them down on paper with your emotions. That had to not be an easy thing to do.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't like, hey, let's start now and let's just get it done. I mean, through COVID, we had so much time, which actually gave me the time to do it. So it was more just starting there, and it was a long process. It was a 2 year process of doing that. But yeah, like you said, once you're going through it and you're trying to remember all this stuff, you're like, am I just getting old and my memory only goes back so far, or
Or did
or
I
did I
block this out?
did
Yeah.
I block this out? And you're trying to remember, and then I find myself calling people and saying, "Hey, did it happen this way? And was it just wanted to make sure my story was straight? Just because I'm getting older, but and maybe that's how I felt, and I try to write it from my perspective and not anyone else's.
I
Even
hear
when
it
I
in your
talk,
voice. I hear it in your
yeah,
voice when I read it. It does not seem
awesome,
like there's somebody else who wrote this. This to me, I hear in Sonny's voice telling his story, which I
awesome.
don't hear that in every autobiography that I read.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah, yeah. Even when I'm talking about Marcos, because we don't say that he left the band anymore. It's we used to when we were angry at him, we thought you left
Right.
the band. But now that we're back together and we're getting his perspective, I write that in a book where I'm saying, hey, this is my perspective at the time, and I'll leave that up to Marcos when he wants to write his book, and then he'll tell you his because he feels like he was somewhat kicked out or forced out, and so we've just come to agree that, yeah, I mean, that's how it was. But we weren't in the same headspace back then. We were in the middle of the whirlwind of rock and roll and just everything, labels and people now wanting stuff from you and people wiping your ass and all these
Yeah.
things.
Everything is
Yes,
reactionary.
it's
Everything is
yes,
reactionary. Something happens and you react. Something else happens and you
yes,
react. Something is good and you react and you're
yeah,
partying. Something's negative and you're
yep.
pissed off. There's a great story. There's some really fun rock and roll stories in there too. But the story that I love is the Martin Gore from Depeche Mode story. When you guys are
Oh
like this young
yeah,
band and you're at like this U2 shindig, U2's
yeah,
like the shit, and you're at this big deal. So tell the Martin Gore story because that's like such a cool story. Martin from
yeah.
Depeche Mode.
We John Rubly, our A&R, he took us to the CU2, and we were just we're ghetto kids, and all of a sudden we're surrounded by the who's who, and it was awesome, right? We're just trying not to geek out over everybody, for actresses, actors, musicians, athletes, and then they say, hey, we're gonna go back to a tent, some big old tent they had, and just Hollywood catering to everybody, and you might get a chance to meet you too, and that's all we wanted. But now we're meeting everybody. And then obviously, come on, Depeche Mode. It's like Martin Gore, he's right there. And this is the first time we're seeing him in flesh. And, I write in the book, I don't know if guitars are just a little weird and cool in that sort of sense, but Marcos goes up and we introduce ourselves and we're there and he gets on his knee, he grabs Marcos's hand and he kisses his hand and Marcos is floored, like it's like the king is sitting, he's giving of
That's
royalty,
amazing.
and he's kissing Marcos's hand, and Marcos is just he was dumbfounded.
I
He
love
didn't
it.
know what to say, and we were just watching him like this is nuts. But I think he might have heard about our band, and and maybe that was just his way of just saying, I dig you guys, and that was so cool.
What an inspiration. Like it's so inspiring
Yeah.
for a young band to get something like
Oh
that,
yeah.
I mean, and again, you guys were shot out of the cannon. coming out, with that record and MTV and
Yeah.
TRL and this whole new sound and everything kind of about the band. And I think the beauty in this book is you talk a lot about surviving that and the way you kind of
Yeah.
get through that. You get through that with friends and family and faith. There's a line in the book too where you're talking about your wife and you're saying, 30 years later, um, Shannon and I are still in love. You didn't say we're still married. You said we're still in love. And
Mm,
I love that because mostly people would say,
mhm.
yeah, we're still married. Yep, we're still doing it. We're still married. But I love that you said that we're still in love. There was just
I
something
love that
about
you're
that line.
catching all this stuff.
Being
That's
a
so
girl and
cool.
being, so romantic. I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, 30 years later. And he's actually referring to his wife as not just, yeah, we're still
Yeah.
married, but we're still in love. What's the secret of having that successful union? You have three beautiful kids, a
Mm,
lovely family. What is the
yeah.
secret of that? What do you do every day? Is it just a gratitude? How do you make that
It,
work?
it is a gratitude, but my wife has been with me before the band. You know what I mean? When I got asked to be in this band, I said no because this is nothing I ever set to do or dreamt of, or
She
I'm
was
still a
like
child.
12 and you were like 14, like when you first met.
When we
Not
first
not when
met,
you were
yeah,
like hooking up, but I
yeah,
mean when you were
yeah.
kids and you've known each other. You probably don't even remember
Oh
life
yeah.
without her
No, I've spent more life with her, more time with her than I have, by
with
myself.
anyone.
And
Yeah.
and then she's been through every huge thing in my life, from my mother passing away, from me trying to, finding my faith and trying to stay out of trouble. And she's been there, through the band process. She's been through that. So we know that this isn't real, or we know that this game isn't real, right? Hollywood and the music industry. We're not buying into it, even though it does try to suck you in constantly. And there's times when I've been on the very edge, just ready to fall over, but then it's that constant thing that reminds me, no, I don't want this over what I have. There's nothing better than my love and my faith for God, my wife, my children. And rock and roll is great. And there's a lot of glittery and goldy things in this world that looks like a lot of fun. And it is fun, but I will not trade it for my peace of mind. I will not trade it for what I have. And I think my wife and my kids are a result of that. And so we've found ourselves within that, how to exist, how to do life together. And now the older you get, it seems like we made the right choice. You know what I mean? I'm going to be 52. You know what I mean? It's like I see a lot of people that I know that are it breaks my heart that they're sad. It breaks my heart that they're not with somebody. They're not with that they're divorced and not with they're single. They don't have their their kids. It just that breaks my heart because I know if they can do it all over again, they probably would have made some decisions back then to keep that all intact. But that's the sacrifice and cost of this crazy world. We
Yeah.
go through it, and sometimes we just we fall down.
There's some lovely moments in the book. There's one, and I'm not going to tell it because I want people to buy the book to read it. But there's a moment when you're driving in the car, boop, 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 not
Oh,
expecting much, and you kind of look, I don't know if it's a rear view mirror or whatever you're looking at, and your daughter's in her little seat in the back. And you get that inspiration for a song. I'm not gonna say what
yeah.
the song is because I want people to read the book. But there's
Yeah.
so many cool moments in the book where you as an artist have been inspired by life, and I think
Yeah.
that that's really the whole full circle message of this book about how life can be so inspiring. And, I think
Yeah.
you nailed it on this, man. You nailed it.
Oh, thank you so much. I've learned just going through, even with my faith, my gripes and my complaints against the institution of church and Christianity, it's flawed as well. And unfortunately, it acts like it has it all together, and the world sees they think the church has it all together, and then they don't feel like they'll ever have a place over on this side. That's the good side, and I'm on the bad side. And so we blurred those lines of saying, hey, no, come as you are. That God loves you. He knows what you've done. He knows what you will do, and he loves you regardless. And he just wants to have a relationship with you. And I've learned that as I've gone through life to appreciate that. And so I won't let anybody steal my peace or my freedom on either side. I'm not going to let the church and Christians rob my freedom, and I'm not going to let the world rob my freedom. And So, ending the book, it's me saying, man, live your life. Know who you are so that you can be free, so that you can do this stuff and you're not living in a constant world of guilt and shame and am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? It's like, no, be free and live your life, enjoy this life. But I also recognize that this life is temporary and it's short. And because I am a man of faith, I do believe in the eternal. I set my heart and my mind on the eternal. And that's what I want people to know. Like, hey man, life is cool and all, and it's good. But we might need to do a little bit of soul searching just so that we not only can we have peace on earth now, but we have our hearts and our minds ready for whatever's to come after this lifetime.
There are three words too in the book that somebody mentioned to you, and all of a sudden something clicked in your head, and you were like, "Yeah, that's kind of what it's all about." When someone said to you, "Lead with love," lead with love, and that
100%.
stuck out with me. Those three words stuck out after I finished the book. I didn't, forget about that chapter. Lead with love, and I think that you've done that with your career and your life.
Oh,
And I think it's just a beautiful full circle moment for you. Now you're Sonny Sandoval, author. You could Google you now.
crazy.
Author comes up next to your name. Do you realize that? Author.
No, that's crazy. I haven't even gotten to that far yet. That's nuts.
I love that
It's
though.
it's that's wild. That's wild.
I love that because I think it's all about making that connection. And I think you've got definitely, obviously in songwriting, but you've got it
Mm.
also in putting down words. So
Oh, thank you.
would you think of doing something else in the future, another book?
Oh, I need to do five, six, seven books just to fill in the details. This was just a fast forward look, from when I was
I
born
don't
to
doubt it.
about 2019. Man, I got so much, there's so much more
More
story
gas
and
in that
detail.
tank. I
Oh
knew it. I
gosh.
knew it. That's why I asked that question. I knew it. And this just seemed like something, when I say it's an easy read, I
Yeah.
don't mean it's an easy read in any kind of a way of,
Oh yeah.
I mean it's an easy read because you start the first page and you just go right through it. You can breeze right on through it. There are no
Mhm.
bumps,
Oh,
So
so cool.
from a literary standpoint, it's an easy read because it's really easy for people just to take this, to
Yeah.
take this journey with you. So I loved the book. I'm an autobiography nut. I have books all over
Oh,
my house. I read everything. And Son of Southtown, My Life Between Two Worlds was definitely one of my favorites. I think I banged it out in less than 2 days. I read it over a weekend.
that's crazy. That means so much coming from you. And I've heard that same story. A lot of my friends that aren't readers, and they're like, bro, I couldn't put it down. I finished it in a day. I finished it in 2 days. And I'm like,
Yep.
no way.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's
So
so
he is
cool.
Sonny Sandoval, rock star, man of faith, and author, and family man, of course. I love
That's
you. I'm
right.
so grateful to get
Oh,
any
love you
time with you
too.
that I can. And we had a beautiful day at WDHA. So I
Yes,
thank you for gifting our listeners and our staff and everyone with that beautiful day. It was so much fun.
it was. No, you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for always having us and being so good to us. Can't wait to see you guys again.
And by the way, Veritas still on fire. Brand new
That's
single
right.
out. You guys are going out on the road. You're leaving soon. You're heading overseas. Then you're coming
Oh
back. So
yeah.
there's a lot. You're playing the Rockville. Welcome to Rockville. All these big
Yeah.
festivals. So there's lots going on with P.O.D. this year as well.
Plenty going on. We leave actually, I think next week for Godsmack tour in Europe for a month, and so excited.
Oh,
So
so
I'm
fun.
ready. It's going to be a
So
little
fun.
chilly, and we're going into a few different countries we've never been to before. So it's going to be a blast. I can't complain, and I get to bring my son with me. He's going to be drum teching for
He's
P.O.D. So
awesome.
yeah,
He's such a good kid. He is
that's right. You
such
met him. That's
I
right.
love him. He's like such a solid kid. The day at the station, we're all hanging out, having a good time,
That's
being loud,
right.
everybody's partying and stuff. And he was like the most
Yeah.
adult in the room.
That's
He
so
was
awesome.
he was great. Tell
Yeah,
him I said hi. Tell everybody I
I
said hi,
will.
okay? Thank you,
I
Sonny, so
will.
much.
Thank you, love. Appreciate you.